Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market, where every day we discuss all things to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to hopefully make some or a lot of money on the internet. Loaded up for discussion today. We have Bitcoin running back past $115,000. That doesn't sound too bad to me. We've got Hyperliquid releasing equity perps on the HIP3 tab, including Tesla, Nvidia. Pretty exciting stuff. Hype price action over the weekend has been pretty excellent. So we'll touch on that as well. And then finally, of course, we have the MegaETH pre-sale starting later today. They announced a 100,000 KYC users and 70,000 Twitter users registered for the mega pre-sale. Starts at 1 p.m. UTC. Got Bread in the house with us today to discuss more details as we get to that part of the show. As usual, we've got the latest on price action of crypto and NFTs in general. So stay tuned for that. I've got Legendary and Brett in the co-host seat with me today. We are ready to get into it. But just a reminder, friends, before we do, nothing that we say here is financial advice. This market is incredibly risky. We do not know anything for sure. So please do proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, it is Monday. It's the 27th of October. How are you doing? How are you feeling, my man?
Jim. I'm doing quite well. It's an exciting day. It's an exciting week ahead. Quite a lot of things happening. And I had a fantastic start into my morning because I received more graded Pokemon slabs, which makes me very, very happy. I have 5 nice cards, including my personal highlight, which is this.
What's this one?
This is
Blastoise. That's the one you pick at the start. No, I'm sorry. I always pick Bulbasaur. Blastoise was kind of close, but
PSA 9, which is quite a nice card. And then this Pikachu promo card, which is also a very, very nice one in PSA 10. Quite happy with it.
Nice.
The only thing I'm not happy with is import duties, but a fun amount on the invoice. 777.77 euro is what they charged me.
What to get them? So you've already paid for the cards, right?
Yeah, I mean, I paid for the cards, and then you pay 20% in import duties. Then you pay processing fees. You pay 20% in taxes added to the processing fees as well. And
No.
Another service charge, also tax, and all of that adds up to 777.77.
There are these things called NFTs, Legendary. I don't know if you've heard about them. You can buy them digitally. There's no custody. There's no shipping. There's no taxes. You should consider them.
I did. I mean, these are all cards from BZ, right? But then I was like, I would like to hold this RWA in my hand. And this is the price I'm paying for that.
The price you got to pay to hold something in your hand. To be fair, there's a lesson in that. There's a lesson in that for sure. Like the price you have to pay to take custody of the thing of value, there's always a premium. Like, sure, you can even buy gold on Hyperliquid now, but you want to take that gold, you want to put it in your house, you want to put it in your vault, you want to secure it properly. There is that premium.
Isn't that the point of those like the storage places, like right at the border?
Yes.
The free ports.
What was that?
It's exactly the free ports.
Tenet.
Yeah, it's the same for
that movie.
Yeah, exactly. I could, and I think this is why RWA platforms have an interesting future ahead, because obviously I'm not going to import the majority of my cards, because then I would pay 5 figures in import duties, which is ridiculous. So I'm going to keep them there and then sell them digitally and not have to pay those taxes. And
so he's making a decent point.
No, it's not legal. If I fly in and import them and don't declare them, I commit tax evasion and fraud by doing that. So,
all right. Thanks, Wizzy, trying to get Legendary arrested on the border. Thank you.
Don't get arrested.
Love it. Okay. So
especially,
that's nice.
With me being like someone who's posting that shit, and then this is on the timeline, and people will be like, oh, people immediately when I posted asked, did you pay import duties for that? And officials also read X, so not a good idea.
Officials reading X, that is unacceptable. Get them off the timeline. Bread, that's what's going on in Legendary's world. How was your weekend? I'm sure very peaceful. You don't have much going on at the moment, so
you should address me as customer support representative Bread. That's my full name. That is probably what my name will be for the foreseeable future. I'm literally right now, all the homies are like, just like, even I mean with you, like right, everyone's got like little things that are trying to get through. This is a time sensitive issue, so it's like I get it. I'm trying to just like make sure people are well positioned for this, because we don't want it to be a rush. We don't want it to be a stressful moment for people. So obviously Echo, Sonar, and people in the crowd, obviously the joke is the public sales tomorrow, or tomorrow, Jesus Christ, it's today. It's in a couple hours. So like that's for MegaETH. So, you know, we announced it last week. Reception's been decent. So we're trying to make sure that, you know, everyone is well positioned and, you know, can do whatever they can. And we're just, it's a lot.
Tell me one thing, Brad, which by the way, thank you for your service. You're doing a good job getting around to people individually. I know, just like answering some of their small questions.
The whole team. Where every single person is like all hands on deck customer support.
I can imagine. How have you thought about the rules for like, or are there any rules for answering stuff? Even I was thinking at one point in the chat when the Modern Market chat became MegaETH customer support as well. Yeah, I was like, all right, guys, we got to have some rules here. Things that you can Google yourself and it literally says on the website, do not ask that question in here. If there's something unique or bespoke, some kind of like interpretation of something, ask that question. Let's have that discussion. But if it's like, when do we get our money back? Come on, guys. We can do that.
We're making pictures and threads and
Look at the damn picture. Come on. Yeah. That's I think that's our Modern Market rule. That's what it's going to be for our chat for the next few days.
Yeah. And I get it, man. Like there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of people. There's like the information is cut up 1,000 different ways. And if it's like not coming from the source, like maybe someone interpreted it a little differently and that's how they're telling the story. And it's like, I get it. So like, I'm trying to be, understanding of that and available. And that's the reason why, going into this weekend, we're like, all right, man, like we crushed the end of last week. Let's just drop some bangers, like just hype people up and get going. We're like, man, all right, we need to be informative right now. There are so many people trying to get in stuff. We just need to like max inform these next 2 days. That's why we dropped 2 big threads over the weekend, just like detailing different components and just updating. Like, if you have any questions whatsoever, this is how you do it. But yeah, I mean, it's exciting. I'm happy people are. I would feel much worse if we did it all and
nobody asked any questions
at all. Yeah, like no one said anything, right? Like that's the worst.
Not caring is the worst outcome for all things. When you try to create something, when you try and put something out there in the world, so apathy is the worst. I don't know, Brett. So look, for the people, we're already getting comments in the YouTube to be asking questions. I don't know how you feel about it, Brad. Maybe so we're going to do some other stuff first. We're going to end on MegaETH today. Maybe if you're okay with it, if you have a scroll through to see if some of these questions are right, we'll do like a little bit of a Q&A at the end if there are some obvious ones that we think we might be able to answer. Or also even just to say like, look, we can't answer that question. Like it's not possible.
Yeah. Comments, drop them in the X comments. I'm gonna aggregate some of them during the show, so you don't have to like scroll the chat all the time, Brett, and then we can see how much we can get through.
Nice. The one thing, the only thing I care to get out in front is just like time does not matter. So like everyone, we have 3 full days to do this. That whether you bid in the first 5 seconds or the 71st hour, there is no impact on yourself. There's no rush.
But what if, Brad? What if
like,
I get that first transaction?
Take your time.
That'd be kind of
fun. Take your time. Click the buttons. Yeah.
No, I said it in the chat. I'm gonna increase gas. I know it's not a gas, but I just want to feel something, right? I want to feel.
Yeah. But people need to know that's purely recreational. That's Legendary just being recreational.
Just joking.
Wanting to get the bid in first. This is not a requirement, as Brad has reiterated multiple times. So look, when we get to that part, we will be a bit more serious. We're just enjoying ourselves to start the week. But let's get into the main stuff today. Obviously, we will get to MegaETH launch coming later. We'll do a little bit of Q&A. If you drop the questions in the YouTube comments or the Twitter comments, they should all come up for us. We'll share them on screen. We'll answer what we can towards the end of the show today. Before that, we've got some other important stuff to get to. We'll be talking about Bitcoin moving back up, things looking a little bit more bullish at the moment, and we'll get to the Hyperliquid releasing equity perps on Hyperliquid rather than just on trade.xyz. So we'll talk about some of the implications of perps on Tesla, Nvidia, and stuff as well. But as usual, let's start with the price action to get you up to speed with what is going on that side of things before we just give you a roundup of everything else that's going on in the space. So Bitcoin is up a couple of percent, as I said, to $115,500. Not so bad, up 4% on the week. ETH is back to almost 4.2k, up 5% in the last 24 hours, up 3% on the week. And you got BNB up a couple of percent to 1.1k. XRP is flat around $2.60. Solana's up around 3% to $200. We have Hyperliquid up 1% to 47, but that's up 23% on the week. As I said, Hyperliquid putting in big moves as people kind of digested the implications of having these stocks, perps on chain, which people knew about for ages. People knew this was coming, but to see it there is obviously experienced some good price action. And then Sui is up a couple of percent as well to $2.60. Getting into the meme coin side of things, we have Doge up a couple of percent back to around 20 cents. We've got Pepe flat. Pengu is up a couple of percent. Trump's up a couple of percent. SPX is up a couple of percent. Tibber on virtuals is up 8%. Fartcoin is down 1%, still around 40 cents. Brett on base is up 11%. Rect is up 6%. So around the meme coin side, a little bit of divergence there. Some things are up, some things are down, not super consistent on this occasion. Getting into the headlines themselves, which we will be discussing in just a little bit. We will be talking about Bitcoin getting back above 115k. We'll be talking about Hyperliquid releasing equity perps on the HIP3 tab. And finally, we'll get into the MegaETH pre-sale, which does begin today at 1 p.m. UTC. 100,000 KYC users, 70,000 Twitter users signed up. So a lot of excitement there. We'll get into that towards the end of the show. And as I mentioned, if you missed it, we will do a little bit of Q&A in the chat. If you've got any questions, drop your questions. We'll do our best to get around to them towards the end of the show. And we also have some other news on the NFT side. Ledge, anything to note on the NFT side? I saw some decent sales going through in the last 24 hours.
Decent sales, yes, including this Fidenza, which sold for 24 ETH. More happening on the art side. People into the Ether sold for 9 ETH. Mask of Lucy sold for 8 point something ETH. However, if we take a look at the main collections, the red still continues. Apes down another percent to 7.04. Pudgies down 3%, 7.25. Pudgies have reflipped apes on the way down, or have flipped them back. Miladies are down. Basically, everything is down a bit. Some of the things like Azukis are down a bit more, 6% that is. Infinix patrons covered them last week with some of the changes that happened. They had a green week, 64% in the green for the week, another 2% on the day, 1.55 ETH.
That's nice. Still holding one of those for my initial investment. That's pretty good. Okay, and the rest of the roundup to get you up to speed. Polymarket CMO confirms incoming Poly token and airdrop. I think that was at the back end of last week, but just to keep in people's minds. Crypto.com applies for OCC federal banking charter. A bunch of people now applying for the banking charter. Japan's JPYC releases the first yen-denominated stablecoin. That's pretty cool. I want to see how much adoption that gets in reality. Rumble will incorporate Bitcoin tipping from December. Remember Rumble being backed by Tether as well, right? They've invested in Rumble. And then finally, Pudgy Penguins announces they're bringing Pengu into the Kung Fu Panda world. I think that's pretty awesome news. They just keep shipping regardless of the price. Outstanding execution from the Pudgy Penguins team. That is the roundup to get you up to speed with everything that you need to know this week. We're obviously going to be talking about Bitcoin in today's show. We're going to be talking about Hyperliquid releasing equity perps. We're going to be talking about MegaETH pre-sale. That will all come over the next 40 minutes. But before we get there, guys, Ledge, what is catching your attention from any of the other bits of news or anything else you're kind of looking at the market at the moment?
Yeah, nothing too specific from the roundup. Obviously, we'll have my eyes glued on the Poly token airdrop and see how that does, how market share is evolving between Poly Market, Kalshi. I've seen that Myriad managed to increase some of their market share as well, but it's obviously still relatively low. That's something I'm gonna keep an eye on. Apart from that, it seems like we are seeing a bit of a run back of the AI season. Virtuals is running back. That is interesting to see, and it's also going to be TGE and pre-sale wise an interesting week. Obviously, big one being Mega today, which we're going to talk later in the show. But Monad, I think on Wednesday on the 29th, will reveal.
28th is a secret. I know there's a secret on the 28th. I saw some, which is tomorrow.
Which is tomorrow. which will reveal the token allocation which you will get from the airdrops, then the entire X402 hype, which we could also mention in the YouTube comments, which has been going on. Just something I didn't have the time to dive into that, so don't question me on what's going on there. But it feels like there's a flurry of activity which we're seeing in the market right now.
Yeah, so the thing I want to clarify on the Monad thing is that I saw, it was Tina, who's like the head of ecosystem over there, said there's a surprise on the 28th. So the card thing may actually be on the 29th. I don't know the firm dates on those. So, but I think there is something to look forward to tomorrow, and then maybe the 29th is the actual card thing. So just like something to stay aware of. And yeah, I would say like broadly, a lot of that stuff is the same for me. I actually finally got out of my perps position, like, so that I told you guys I was trapped in that BTC long for a long. I like, dude, I was gonna flip it over the course of 3 hours, and then I got lazy, and then it dipped on me. Then I was just riding this thing forever. Finally came back, and this candle that hit yesterday blew through my original TP that was meant for hours. It extended to days, weeks. So like we're good. We're back on top. I've already gone back in. I actually switched it to a long for pump. I feel like pump is starting to have a little bit of a revival. And as for like the virtuals, AI stuff, most of that's on the back of the X402 stuff. I haven't dug in a ton to see like what the actual unique technical difference is between these things and everything else that's popping off. Like that's what everyone's talking about these days, and that's what everything's been running the last like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, maybe not even that much, but like a week or so. These X402 tokens. And I know they're for agent payments. Like I understand that as a concept. It allows for agents to be able to pay for stuff. It's microtransactions. So whenever you and I used to go to a website and we would scrape information, we would pay for it by looking at ads while we're doing the thing, right? Like that's how we used to pay for it. But bots don't look at ads. Clearly, agents don't look at ads. LLMs don't look at ads. So this is a protocol that allows them to, whenever they're accessing information, to pay a fraction of a cent to say, hey, we're scraping your data, give us your information, and then providing that to the user, because like doing that. So I get that. That all makes sense. I don't know what that means for tokens. And I fear it's going to be very similar to the original AI agent stuff that went on, where everyone's like, oh my God, AI XBT is going to change the fabric of society. And then after about 2 or 3 months, everyone's like, what the F is this bot doing? Like, that doesn't make any sense. He's slopping on my timeline. I don't like it. I feel we're probably going to hit a lot of that. This is not an AGI moment on Solana or Base, but it is something to take note of and probably to understand better.
Yeah, I'm completely on board with that. I've not been particularly, like, obviously AI is like a big investable vertical that you want to be interested in, try to understand what's going on. I'm not excited by the on-chain derivatives of that or the on-chain machinations of that in any way at the moment, specifically because of how the first wave played out. Fine, maybe there's some speculative stuff. As you said, virtuals has really run. I don't see why, apart from like trying to run it back, which people might just try to do if we hit some bullish momentum and the majors start to move up, and people just try to make up other reasons why certain things should go.
I mean, they're literally saying that. They're like, it's been a year since we
like, let's run it back.
Like, let's run it back. Yeah.
And it's like, that's not I mean, it is a compelling investment thesis in that someone might actually be able to make that happen. Like, people might
maybe not investment thesis, but it is a reason to buy the token potentially, like knowing how fast capital moves in this space. Yeah.
Yeah, but you've got to be wary about it.
Last year, let's do it again.
Yeah, basically that's kind of what it sounds like to me at the moment, which is,
yeah, I mean, that's the entire, like, that's the 4-year cycle thing. Like, everyone's like, all right, start accumulating Cardano. We don't like the tech, but like, it'll probably pop because 4 years ran by. So like, I guess,
so there is a thesis behind it, but what we're saying is, it's not compelling in a way that something else might be, in my opinion. Just quick shout out to some of the comments that are bringing some other things to our attention, which I think I was aware of, but we didn't mention. Zero mentioned that, did we follow Avicii? It's a neobank with an already working product. It launched via MetaDAO. It was up a big percentage in the last 24 hours. I think it's at a 30 mil FTV now. So definitely some of these launches coming out of MetaDAO, for whatever reason, have been quite successful, I think. At least at a minimum, because they are constricting supply and entry and making sure you get a good valuation. Therefore, whatever it comes out after, people are always in profit, which obviously makes people a bit happier. So there is that. So keeping an eye on what MetaDAO are doing, I think it's probably worth it. Though I can't speak to that specific neobank, whether it's good or not. Uit Port in the comments said there's a sale of CryptoPunk 4220 for 178 ETH on Gondi. That's pretty big. I think it's CryptoPunk, a hoodie CryptoPunk, which just got sold there. So Crypto Bolt just said bullish on neobanks. To be honest, few projects with working products before tokens. That is one area which I think there's space for further speculation. So, for example, prediction markets being one that's clearly catching a lot of attention and heat. Over the next few months, you've got a lot of tokenist protocols in a net new vertical, which has been created. So I think there's space there. And neobanks, basically, like this idea that you're going to have multiple neobanks, and that's where some value might accrue. What do you think?
I saw a DCF God talking about EtherFi as like the neobank play. We're just like,
yes,
EtherFi card is getting a lot of adoption. I think I saw the revenue numbers that they were generating. I want to say they were weekly, and they're doing decent. And I saw this and they were trending up. Things are good. It's getting adoption. It's just for me, my problem is I still don't know how to price a neobank. Like, I don't know what the upper bound of that is. It's hard for me to know what the TAM is. I haven't done enough research into it to say like, how is this thing going to continue to grow and what the upper bound is. Like, I see this stuff. I see the trend in it. For me, like I look at that and I look at the price of EtherFi and I go, I don't know if that is properly priced. So that is the thing that is keeping me from bidding a lot of these neobank-esque plays that we have in the ecosystem, even though they clearly are something that's getting some adoption.
I think
it's a good question.
Very, very hard thing, or the very big challenge with pricing those neobanks is, if you look at neobanking competitors, so if you look at the Revoluts, the N26s, they already have a user base. Now, if you look at people who want to join these incumbents in the space, look at Apple. Apple has their own credit card, so does Amazon, but they have a massive existing user base to lean on. So they can make up a number and be like, if we convert 2% of our users to use the credit card by giving them good cash back, making them discount offers on Amazon, whatever, then this is what we will have in terms of numbers. But in Web3, you don't really have that. You have new banks who are with one another, and a lot of them are just very, very similar. Like almost 90% of them are, you get your Visa, you get a MasterCard, you spend and you get some sort of cash back on what you spend in the token, or have to stake the token to get cash back. Most of them are different. I mean, as I said, we put in the comment is mentioning Nexo. I like that because it's actually a crypto. It's a credit card, not a debit card. You can borrow against the crypto, which has tax advantages in certain jurisdictions. But basically, the economic underlying principle is the same for 99% of them. And they are all competing for the same customers without having an existing previous successful business to lean on, like Amazon, like Apple, to get that distribution. So basically what you do is you're making a marketing bet on who is able to convert the most users. Is that Cast? Is that Tria? Is that Avicii? Or who is just going to be able to bring in the most people, or EtherFi for that matter? Because nobody in crypto is sitting on millions of users to do that. If anything, then a chain could do that, right? Which is what Plasma is doing. But Plasma doesn't have the established user base. Centralized exchanges can do that. Binance has a card. Many centralized exchanges have a card. But for these like purely Web3 native neobanks who offer most of them offer very, very similar product. End of the day, it's a bet on who you think can do the best marketing to get the most users.
Yeah, I don't mind that take. I feel like we haven't really discussed this whole area enough. And I'm reluctant to allocate in any specific way to that whole vertical for many of the reasons you actually just described. I don't think, yeah, you're going to have to build up the whole user base And I think EtherFi probably has done the best job because they've managed to drive some value back to the token itself. I can't remember if they did buybacks or whether they did buyback and burns, but I know that they've done like put a significant amount of work in to try and give the token some value. But okay, we'll keep an eye on that whole area. What I'd like to do now is get into the main headline, which is just Bitcoin getting back up above 115K. We'll talk about the rest of the market and maybe just have a sentiment check from all three of us, how we're feeling, how we're allocating, how we are perceiving and viewing the market once now that Bitcoin is kind of back into this 115K range. So Ledge, what do we need to know here? What's the key data points you're looking at? What should we be paying attention to?
Absolutely, yeah. There were two main things which I mentioned on the weekend, which I'm looking at. One of which is rate cuts coming up this week. This is pretty much a locked-in thing that we're going to see a rate cut. And the other more volatile thing, and I'm going to share my screen in a second, was or is still to do with President Trump meeting President Xi, and if they will agree on a trade deal or not. And this is looking very good. Trump posted that he is ready to make concessions, to agree on a deal with China, and going even further. This is coming from an article in the New York Times, is that apparently representatives from China and the United States already agreed on a framework for a possible trade pact ahead of that face-to-face meeting between the two presidents, which the market liked a lot. Not only the crypto market, but also the pre-markets for stocks are looking excellent. We have the S&P 500 futures being up 85 base points, NASDAQ futures up more than 1%, 1.28 to be precise, and Dow is up 50 bips. So it seems like the rate cuts are an exciting thing for the week, but more so that positive sentiment around President Trump meeting President Xi, and I think also some lower than expected reported inflation data are making for a very good and very green start of the week.
I like it. So, okay. Timeline went a little bit bearish after the open interest wipeout. What was that, like 2 weeks ago now? We've kind of been in a period where markets definitely been trying to recover from the open interest wipeout. That was when loads and loads of coins almost went to zero as kind of systems were almost malfunctioning, and a lot of the leverage got wiped out of the system. We've kind of been buying our time here for a bit. Our initial position had been like, look, you don't need to take a position right here, right now. Let's just wait and see. As far as to my knowledge, there hasn't been anything come out to say like this. And people were talking about, there's definitely some entities got wiped out here. We want to know like what the bigger damage is. To my knowledge, there hasn't been big entities come out and say, yeah, we got kind of carried out. Things seem to be recovering healthily. So what's the position then, Ledge? Like what are you thinking now? Has your perspective changed? It does feel like all of our timeframes are compressed, whereas usually we like to look at a kind of 3-month or so time frame. Things are consistently being like, okay, well, now what's going to happen with the meeting with Xi? How is that affecting everything? But what's your perspective here?
Bullish on the week. Generally, long-term bullish. What it means for the rest of the year and what will come. I still expect a ton of volatility. We still have the ongoing government shutdown. Maybe at the end of that, we can see some extra volatility coming in. So I am not really adjusting my portfolio, my trading strategy. If anything, to be honest, I'm quite happy that I basically had to sell off some positions to free up more capital for the MegaETH sale today, because that just allowed me to rethink the portfolio and close some of the things which I didn't want to have open any longer, because I didn't want to touch the stable stack, but rather trade out of existing positions to have a nice reason for myself to take some profit. I think, I wouldn't be surprised if we run to all-time highs towards the end of the year. I also wouldn't be surprised if we chop from here. Can't say what's coming, so I'm happy to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, for me, it's always about risk reward, right? Like I never like going long at these regions, sure, we might go there and you have the spot, maybe Bitcoin position, or that's what I do, to take advantage of those moves much higher if we do push through into 120, 125, 130, etc. So having that exposure to the upside is fine for me. And as you say, it's always about what else is on the market, what else is on the table for you. And I feel like the MegaETH sale provides a much better risk reward than going in here and saying like, right, okay, even with something like Hyperliquid, which has clearly had this huge move up, and that's a real material move. It maybe went as low as $35 just maybe 7 days ago, back to around 47. That's a real material liquid move that you could have experienced kind of on the back of this real positive momentum shift around the HIP3 markets and having stocks on the perp stocks. Basically about risk reward. Like, I don't think you can compare private sale, pre-sale opportunities with liquid positions. It's the same as when at the start of summer people entered a plasma position, and then in the end, sure, if you had just bought ETH spot, you would have outperformed because ETH went on this incredible run, and you would have outperformed. Actually, maybe you wouldn't have outperformed plasma because plasma went even higher after. But the point is, sure, you could have outperformed in that liquid position, but it's not the right question to ask, in my opinion. So I'm kind of similar to you, just holding. I'm a hold / huge allocation towards the private opportunities like MegaETH and maybe something else which might come up. And you whilst you continue to pick up the check, right? Monad is going to have a surprise tomorrow. I think you guys said maybe we know what we're going to get from an airdrop perspective a little bit later in the week or next week or the week after. And you just keep kind of picking up those checks. I think that's my perspective. Let's just want to come back on that, and then want to hear from Brett on this.
Very much agree. Nothing of substance to add. So, Brett, happy to hear from you.
Brett, what are you thinking?
Yeah. I mean, mega. But outside of that, like I said, I got out of my Bitcoin position, even though like I still think the market is trending up, and we're probably recovering from what happened, a few weeks ago, the sell-off, and then not the sell-off, but the liquidation cascade, and then a little bit of like apathy after that. I broadly think everything's just like recovered, sentiment's back, people are starting to get risk on again already, which is crazy to say, 2 weeks post, but that we're kind of that way. I've already entered back into a long on pump specifically. I just think, things are trending up. So I feel comfy here, and I'm looking to get exposed, but I'm not as fully in the trenches these days just because of work.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I'm trying to think if that sufficiently gives our perspective. I think it does. But I think it sounds like we're kind of holding position, holding strong. I think my ETH short is still open, which now
it's crypto and equities, by the way. Like equities bounced pretty hard over the weekend. It's closed, but you can see some after hours numbers. Everything just kind of feels good. And we were even saying that when the cascade happened, like that was more of a technical sell-off than it was a structural sell-off, right? Like, you're having Trump go back and forth with Xi on like, oh my God, tariffs are coming. People are getting less and less responsive to that, as they always do. Like we had the whole taco meme, and everyone has been looking at this cycle and saying literally everything is pointing to numbers going up, except for the fact that it's technically the 4-year cycle. So like that is the only indicator that we're closing in on what a top would be. And then everything else is like, bro, it's like money's being printed. The basis trade, or not the basis trade, the debasement trade is still on a global scale. It's just like, it's a large structural thing pointing to everything continuing to appreciate in dollar terms, whether it's because it's more valuable or because the dollar is worth less. And because of that, people are, spending more money.
Yes. I think that's true. And maybe one of the consequences of this is, and one of the things that's driving people more crazy, is the fact it's not quite going up as fast as people would like, right? People have made that assessment that you just described, which is, okay, the debasement trade is on, everything is worth less. And therefore, especially with Bitcoin now, right? Where it's like gold has really put in a huge move, and a lot of people's frustration stems from, well, when is Bitcoin going to catch up? Is it going to catch up? Is it not going to catch up? And if it isn't going to catch up, then that's putting, I think, people into a bit of a bind, going through a bit of turmoil.
I still think it will.
And this is the thing, like it can, but this stuff can just take more time than people want it to. Like the volatility in this asset, even to the downside, has been markedly reduced compared to before. Like if you look at the charts, there's various Bitcoin dominance charts going around. Ledger, I'm going to share this one. I think I bookmarked earlier for you to bring up. I think I bookmarked it. I hope I bookmarked it. Here we go. Just to bring this one up. And it's not really behaving as volatile as before, and so maybe that operates in the same way to the upside, right? Like, you know, you've got a little bit more protection. You're not going to see maybe a 50% drawdown anymore, but you're also not going to see as wild swings up. Maybe you will, you know, maybe compared to equities, yes, when the move comes, it will still be steep, but it's not going to be of days gone by when you can when you're going to have such tremendously huge candles. So I don't know. That's definitely got to factor that in. The fact this is a way more mature asset than in the past. So you've got to consider that. So, all right. Anything else on the general side before we get into the Hyperliquid stuff, and then of course the MegaETH stuff?
Not for me, but I see Funky with his hand up, so I'm gonna pass it to him for a closing thought on that, and then we can move on to the next headline.
Good stuff.
Hey guys, just a general note on the volatility for Bitcoin. Couple things that what the RWA summit, some of the TradFi bros were talking about. This is the lowest volatility environment that Bitcoin and crypto has seen in all of its time. So to your point, B, there may be something there that it's diminishing. But more importantly, and again, this, you know, depending on how people feel about TA, Bollinger, the famous John Bollinger, who does the Bollinger Bands, that shows volatility winding up. He just had a post like 2 days ago, basically saying that this is the tightest the bands have ever become in all of Bitcoin's history. So that volatility is basically being pent up and going to be released at some point. Now, granted, volatility could be to the upside or to the downside, right? But that's noteworthy when he comes on the timeline, because he doesn't often talk about crypto. And so he did point that out a couple of days ago, that it's been like the tightest it's ever been. So if we do get this volatility expansion, it's going to mean a mega move. We just don't know which direction.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good point, right? That's kind of in line with what we're saying. It's just been in this type of range for a while. Could be coiled, ready to move up, or maybe we just kind of trend up gradually. One thing for sure, though, just as we are discussing this, it seems like no one knows, and I think that it's correct to assume that no one knows. Like every call that we've had recently, I think people talk about it going up or going down. People seem to get bullish at the highs and then bearish at the lows. It's not been hard. Sorry, it's not been easy to call at all. So that's just one thing I'd bear in mind as we try to navigate this stuff. Even if you have like a bullish, like a longer, medium to longer term time frame. All right, let's get into the Hyperliquid stuff, and then we want to do the MegaETH core details plus a little Q&A for Bread on that. Remember, if you have any questions on Mega, Legendary is curating some questions from primarily the YouTube comments, I think, but I think we still see them if you are watching on X. If you're in the Twitter Spaces, we're not going to be able to see those questions because we're not monitoring those. So pop into YouTube or watch one of the videos on our X profiles, and I think we will get those comments from you. We definitely get them on YouTube as we're monitoring there. So on the Hyperliquid side, you will have noticed that over the weekend, we now have equity perps now live through the main front end. Flood, a very big Hyperliquid bull, been in the trade very early, shared that we would then be able to see stocks like Nvidia, Palantir, Hood, Tesla all getting listed soon. That wasn't the case at the beginning, but those did come through a little later. But the main takeaway, I think, from having there's a ticker called the XYZ 100, which I believe is just the top 100, the top 100 in the Nasdaq perps. And you now have single stocks as well. So I think there's Tesla there, there's Nvidia there, And this is the main takeaway from in terms of significance. Flood shared this. He said, in case you're too slow to realize, this is a true 0 to 1 moment for global finance. There is no other venue in the world where you can trade equities on chain, on a club, permissionlessly 24/7. This is the only relevant equity market in the world open through the weekend. There are hundreds of millions of households around the world that would like access to equities but cannot. And this will be the only way they can get exposure. Given that this is included in the native front end, we should see a massive re-rating of both buybacks and fees over the rest of the year. That's talking about the Hyperliquid token specifically. I've rebought back all of my exposure. I suggest you do the same. I think Hyperliquid moved up to around $47 from being around 37, I think, at the back end of last week. So most people, a number of people agreed with that. The Athena founder had this to say also, saying this, I think this is the most obvious opportunity in all of finance right now. Crypto created $1 to $200 billion business and a 4x $10 to $100 billion business with perpetuals on a 4 trillion asset class. Equities alone are 30x the size. Perpetuals, not options, are the correct form factor for retail to express a simple leverage view on the underlying. In my view, potential upside for this product is larger than the current market cap of Robinhood. So those are two very bullish perspectives here on what the total additional market cap this could add to the Hyperliquid ecosystem versus some other places that trade equities and other assets. What's our thoughts here? Legendary, coming to you first. We'll come to Brett as well. Seems like a pretty big deal to me. How's this? How are you digesting this?
Yep. Market cap of Robinhood, just to put that in perspective, is 124 bill at the moment. I like the take. I think, if anything, with the hopes that this doesn't sound too cynical, the crash on October 10th showed how popular perps have gotten, and also showed how unsophisticated people can be about trading them in terms of no proper risk management, how you approach them, because there's no learning curve. You just crank up the slider and you're like, BTC long 20x, Fartcoin short 10x. Whereas we said on the show, with options trading, even if you don't understand all of the Greeks, an options calendar looks way much different from Hyperliquid's UX. And even if you want to do an options trade, you have to have some sort of understanding of what's going on. You still obviously can and will get burned if you are wrong about your view or position. But the learning curve is a harder one, and the UX is a more difficult one, which makes this perpetual form factor more approachable for retail and more friendly to put in risk in a reckless way, which then again will mean that we'll see more crashes, which is very good for the platform because it will earn even more fees. And it has a good chance that it will grow massively in popularity, especially by adding in the equity side of things, adding in maybe commodities at some point or any other asset that you want to trade.
Yeah, I like the take. I feel like this is a really, really big deal. Equity perps expand. Sorry, I was just reading the wrong point here, but I feel like it's just a humongous deal. One thing I want to work through my idea is, so say you have, you know how recently there've been Trump announcements like on a Friday after, like very, very late on a Friday. What will that mean if you can access these perp platforms on Saturday and Sunday? Does that mean people go immediately and start to express a view on the perp platforms? And does that then operate as a pre-market trading for when the main stocks open again on the Monday? And people will the stocks will gap up or down based on the kind of pre-Monday morning market trading, which takes place on the weekend. Does that make sense, Ledge? Am I thinking about that correctly?
You're thinking about that correctly, yeah. And I think if you look at the nature of pre-markets, even at the S&P 500, NASDAQ pre-markets, there's less liquidity in them, so they act a bit more choppy.
Yeah.
But well, that will be the case for stocks as well. if anything, it will push traditional stock exchanges to increase their trading hours. Nasdaq has it on the roadmap. Nasdaq wants not 24/7, but 24/5. So Monday to Friday, 24-hour trading. There is still, to my understanding, some regulatory clarity changes that are needed until they can implement that. But if all other platforms are moving to 24/7 trading and will get significant volume, then it just doesn't work out that a stock exchange is closing in the afternoon and is opening at the morning hours of the respective country's time zone, because that creates too big of a discrepancy to the perpetually online on-chain world. And if that gets significant volume, people will want to arbitrage that, and then regulatory standpoint has to be to follow and fall in line with that to accelerate the roadmaps for all of the stock exchanges to offer 24/7 trading. It has to go this way.
Okay, so what's the follow-on, Led? Buy hype or not buy hype simply because you've done the risk reward and you think your dollars are better placed somewhere else for now?
I sold a good amount of my high position again because I wanted to get into the mega pre-sale with size. So maybe like half of my high bag left. Missed the buy on the weekend. Don't want to buy in on a day where it ran 12%, but we still have some volatility from Xi and Trump. Obviously, could continue to run and me being priced out. If it corrects again, I will fill up my bags again. I think that it could be a very nice trade in the short to midterm. In the long term, it's difficult. In the long term, who knows who will win the universal trading platform challenge? Could very well still be Robinhood, could be Hyperliquid, could be a completely different platform. Could be that stock exchanges get more volume back once they're open all the time. So no idea what happens in a couple of years, but for right now, I would like hype a lot.
I'm increasingly confident. I think it'll be Hyperliquid. Like, as you say, it's very difficult to say. I would like to, as you say, start adding back my position. I have a small amount now because, like you, I've kind of wanted to take some chips off the table. I think there's some other better opportunities now. So yeah, if it was to correct, I'd love to start adding back, kind of in a way that is potentially even like a multi-cycle hold. Is one of the few things in crypto which is doing fantastically well over and over and over again. You kind of want that to do well. Like maybe that's a bit making a trade a bit too emotional, and you're not supposed to do that. But if that doesn't do well, then it's kind of pointless investing in anything in this space. So I don't know. That's just like some initial thoughts. But as I said, definitely big news for sure. And so I think checking the open interest there, checking how much activity that's getting is going to be really important over the next few days to see the uptake on that. So we'll keep an eye on that as we proceed through the week. Let's get to our final headline for the day. As you said, MegaETH is posting pretty humongous numbers. 100K signed up, 70,000 Twitter users ready for the pre-sale today, which starts at 1 p.m. UTC. Brad, what do we need to know? What are the core bits of information? Then maybe we'll do a little Q&A to close the show. If you have any comments, we've aggregated some, and we'll close out like that.
Yeah, there's not a lot of time, so I'll try to speed run this. The big thing to just know with the is the phases of when you get your money back, because a lot of people are talking about the opportunity cost and like what's to come. So we made this image yesterday where it details like when you'll actually get your funds back depending on the cohort that you're in, right? So the next 3 days will be an auction. There is no rush. The second you enter into this, if you bid into this, I even like if you go into the comment section, you'll see my stuff or my reply where I drew pictures of examples of 3 different people. So if you bid into this, yeah, there you go. Scroll down to the third image.
This one or this one?
The very bottom one, that one right there. So this is if you bid into it and you say, hey, I'm offering it for 1 million FDV, max bid, max allo, lockup, whatever. If you are to do that and you don't hit the clearing price, you will get your funds back at the end of the 3 days. So that's October 30th, automatically refunded. Everything will go back to your wallet without you having to touch anything, every bit of it. So that is that scenario. If you miss the clearing
because
price,
you were outbid by other people.
because you said I'm only willing to buy it if it's 1 million, but say it goes for 2 million, right? You did not have the clearing price, right?
Correct.
So the second scenario is if you bid the clearing price, say it clears at 10 million, you bid 10 million, 100 or max bid, which is 186K. That's this one right here. But after we do the review, we say, hey, we are not going to allocate to you. You are not one of the final wallets that gets any kind of allocation whatsoever. You will get your full refund automatically returned to you on the 5th. So that is, just over a week from today. So the opportunity cost, if you get no allocation whatsoever, is that time window. So, and again, automatic, we'll come back to you. We will post the allocation numbers so everyone knows who gets what and whatever. Now,
can I say one thing here?
Yeah.
Can I say one thing on that bit, Brett? Because I think the maybe minor confusion that I've seen on the timeline is that people see your minimum, I think it's 2,650 allocation, because that's been the idea in the head, where we've got a minimum. And then I think people have started to think like, oh, cool, like that's everyone's minimum. And I guess what this example is highlighting is that no, in order to give people that like meaningful minimum, there will actually be people
who
get zero. Some people have to get 0 in order for a certain number to get a meaningful minimum. So that's just what you are outlining there. And that's like maybe the slight confusion I saw on the timeline, but it's good that you had the diagrams on to show.
Yeah, there are a lot of zeros that are going to be handed out, right? If we're talking like the raw numbers, we have $50 million to sell to people, assuming max allocation, max whatever, right? 50 million. So we have obviously a cap, which is the 186K. So you're not going to have one person that eats up 20% of the pool like we did with Staple, right? Staple had 7 people that ate up $700 million of deposits. Ridiculous, right? Just to like give you guys some figures. In this, right, we cap it at the 186K. So there's not going to be 1 or 2 people that fill the pool. We did that intentionally. We did not want whales to come in and box out the small guys. And that U-shaped distribution that we have alluded to, a couple diagrams for it, is like we want to get that minimum, the 2,650, to probably around like 5,000 people, right? So like that many people, we want to have at least a little bit skin in the game. And it's a decent enough number that like, maybe it has a couple X's in it. It's just like a good return. And then we want to isolate, what between 500 and 1,000 that eat up the remainder of the pool, right? Those are people that are going to get max allocation or very high allocation, whether it's somewhere in the 20 to 70,000 range, or, we identify a couple hundred people that can get 186K, right? So this, if you're not a US citizen, is a liquid unlock whenever TGE happens, in the whatever future, right? So that's that. So there's one more time frame that I want to talk about, and it's like a unique mechanic, and that's the one where you actually get allocation, right? So there's the one where you miss the bid, you get money back at the end of this 3 days. The one where you don't get allocation, you get your full bid back at the end of like a week, so November 5th. And then the other one is, hey, bro, you're getting allocation. Let's say you bid 186K. We say, you're in, Gucci. We're going to give you 75,000 of your 186K, right? Now, in this instance, that's this example here, there's a window, November 5th through November 15th. The reason we don't say you're allocated, here's the rest of your USDT, and we'll hold on to the rest, is because we have to give everyone this 2-week window due to MiCA of the ability to withdraw 100% of their bid, right? So in this window, if anyone in the allocated pool, let's just say it's 8,000 people, if anyone in that pool, and it's all or nothing, withdraws their funds, they are forfeiting their mega allocation. In that instance, we take their allocation and we distribute it amongst everyone else that's in the pool. So if you are someone that has given us $186,000, we keep $75,000. That's using this specific example. We're going to hold on to the full 186. And over that 2-week period until the 21st, if anyone else forfeits, your allocation will proportionately bump, right? So it'll go from 75K to maybe 80K to 100K, whatever, based on how many other people decide, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to take my money back. I want to withdraw my funds and have the mega redistributed, which that's why we have to hold on to the additional dollar buffer in that window. And then once that is done, at the end of the settlement period, which will happen around the 21st, the people who will determine final allocations and then give back the fund, refunds based on who withdraw and what your allocation updates were.
Love it.
So the longest we'll possibly hold it is just under a month.
Okay. Excellent. So look, I think that's really, really helpful to get people up to speed with the various timelines. So 2 things. 1, there are diagrams which exist for you to go and check. You don't need to ask the same questions over and over again. There's also a website which basically says all that stuff anyway, but people have clearly not read it and would prefer diagrams. So you've got the website, you've got the diagrams. This should provide you with all the information that you need. Nevertheless, there are a couple of questions which we have been asked in the comments. We said we'll do a little bit of Q&A before we close out. So maybe just for a few minutes, Ledge, you've aggregated some of the questions we had in the YouTube comments. What do we think we can ask here to Bread while we have him with us before we close out the show today?
Yep, we get 3 questions which I picked out. Someone was asking when, if you can share that, was the snapshot for holding cultural NFTs, hypers, bad bonds, all of these things.
Yeah, I don't have a specific date that I know, but I know it was before we did all these announcing. Like we said that at the time, whenever we released all this information, snapshot had already been taken. We did not want people to come in last minute and make decisions based on this. I don't know the specific date though. I would just recommend, like, if you have something that you think is within the last month or two and you're close, I would say just like, we have the opportunity where you can register with a main wallet. That's the wallet you're going to bid with. And then you have up to 3 additional wallets that you can tie in for informational purposes. And everyone's goal should be to be as differentiated as possible. Because remember, to us, they're all obfuscated people. We just have profiles that we build based on the information provided to us on Sonar, right? So it's going to be competitive. If you have, 3 wallets, a social profile, and whatever with a deep DeFi history, like, you're probably going to stand out better than the 17 other people that have all of the same shit that you do. Like, there's a lot of people in this industry minus the social profile, right? So if we have the social profile with it, it just gives us more information. And then if all those things are the same, like, some people are locked up, like, then we have the ability to say, hey, this person's locked up, they're willing to do another thing. So it's like, that allows us to see that you are differentiated from the anonymous person next to you with probably the same profile, ownership, whatever. It's just, it's going to be a pretty fierce competition.
Quick follow-up question on that. When's the deadline to shuffle around wallets? Is it when the sale starts, when I make my bid? Is it throughout the entire sale that I can change?
And you can change. People can register like after the sale starts. So like, obviously you're subject to the review period, but we're trying to make sure that stuff's as fast as possible. Sonars are on hand to review all these things. But we won't do any of the analysis until the end of the close, and then we have a full week after to do a review of people who have bid, the final bids, and what their profiles are. I would say that make sure everything is locked in by the time you do your bid, which doesn't have to be locked in until the 30th.
Gotcha. Second question, maybe a longer question, but maybe you have a short answer to that, is obviously you have the Mika white paper published to explain that 40 days withdrawal period. Any general thoughts on Mika regulations at all?
Yeah, it was tough juggling both that and American regulations, right? So that's why we have these being compliant with everything simultaneously has been a little bit of a headache. And even a lot of the stuff that we had to do for Mika is why we couldn't give this information out even sooner, right? Because it was under review period for them. They had to do this stuff. So it's like, yeah, it's just, it's a lot. And a lot of it isn't necessary. Like they could do some updating for sure.
Gotcha. Iceman is saying, always a fun educational when Brett breaks it all down from the big guy to the small guy and on where and how and when for MegaETH. Maybe one last question. It's an obvious one. It's one that could have been answered on the website either way. What is an English auction?
Yeah, so I was surprised at how many people. It's just like a normal auction. So like if you're familiar with eBay or basically any auction site, it's the same thing, right? Like the bid is out there, the current offering is out there, and if someone or a group of people are willing to accept a higher bid, that becomes like the current bid price. For this specifically, we need to fill up a certain amount before we move on to the next highest price. So it'll start at the 1 million FDV. If we get enough people that commit the $50 million at that price, then we'll go, okay, we're going up to the next price, $2 million, $5 million, $10 million. And then we give everyone a chance to fill it up. And it keeps increasing every time the current threshold is filled up with enough capital allocation. It will do this until we get to the maximum price we are allowing, which is the 999 million FTV. At that point, we will no longer increase. And then we go into like, okay, we have to decide between the over allocated amount that we have. And then that's when we start digging through the profile. But you do not have to monitor your position. If you come in and you just say max bid, max price, max whatever, you can set that at the very beginning and walk away and know that you will be considered at the end of the evaluation period.
And maybe adding to that, again, there's no rush. Even if it hits max price and you haven't got your bid in, you can still bid, and it's just going to add to the oversubscription.
Yep. Correct. It does not close until the end of the 3-day window. You can bid at any point in time. There's no priority given to a wallet that bids in the first 5 seconds versus the last 5 seconds.
Love it.
That's one side note. Yeah, I wanted to look up why we call auctions by name and what the history is. Like Dutch auction starts high, goes low. English starts low, goes high. I don't know where this is coming from historically.
There's like 7 versions. I was looking this up to because I was going to draw pictures because so many people were having trouble with it. And then I found like a hierarchy of auction naming. And it's like, English, then Dutch, then there's a bunch of them. Ubagin. There's just a bunch of weird ones.
Yeah, and then people start calling things weird things. So you could say instead of an English auction, Dutch auction starts high, goes low, but you can call it a reverse Dutch auction, which is just an English auction which starts low and goes. It's so confusing. So reverse Dutch is English, basically. Reverse English is Dutch.
Correct.
Like it. All right, guys. That is exceptionally helpful. Shout out to Brad for taking the time to deliver the information, draw pictures of the information, and then share it with us here today. So we're very grateful to Brad for doing all of that. Just a reminder, it goes live at 1 p.m. UTC. And, moving forward, if you have more questions, 2 things before you ask them. 1, check the website. check the diagrams. That is an unofficial rule of the Modern Market Telegram right now. You must check the website before you ask a question to do with the mega sale. So everyone's excited though. We're excited for you, Brad. So good luck for it. We'll just monitor. We'll continue the conversation as the week goes on, right? So it's certainly not the end of the discussion around it. So look forward to chatting about it the rest of the week. Yep. We will be here all week, and we'll be here every day otherwise. So we go live every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time, live on X Video, YouTube, and you can catch us on Apple, Spotify, podcast as well. We do. I've already said that already, haven't I? I'm not feeling very well today. Have a wonderful day, guys. Thanks, Legendary, for joining as a co-host. Thank you, Brad. Thank you for Funky for your contributions as always. Have a wonderful day, guys. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.